With the 2023 NFL season now over, we can easily take a look back at last year's rookies and grade each and every single draft class across the NFL. Starting out with the Carolina Panthers, I'll give them a B. Bryce Young could end up as a good quarterback, and despite not being great this season, there's potential, and the rest of the players taken by the Panthers didn't really make an impact, neither did they disappoint. Now for the Texans, easily an A+. They nailed their first two picks, grabbing their franchise quarterback in CJ Stroud and a defensive game wrecker in Will Anderson. The later rounds were no joke either, and the biggest star here is Tank Dell, who formed a very quick connection with Stroud despite not being an early pick. On to the Colts, A-. Anthony Richardson displayed quite a lot of potential, but he still needs some time. Meanwhile, the rest of this class is actually pretty solid, and one particular player I think elevates it is Josh Downs, who could end up being top tier for Indy. Now for the Seahawks, another A+. They got both Devon Witherspoon and JSN in the first round, which already would make for an insane rookie class. And still, they had some solid late round picks to make it even better, so of course they are getting a perfect grade. Now for the Cardinals, B. Given their draft position, I think they could have done a lot more than what they actually did. Paris Johnson isn't looking bad, but he still needs some time to develop, and although B.J. Ojulari could end up being a reliable starter, the rest of the class isn't that great. On to the Raiders, D. On paper, this seemed as a very solid group, but we gotta face the facts. So far, Tyree Wilson is a bust and a huge reach, so even though they still got some talented players like Michael Mayer, I cannot ignore that big of a mistake in early round 1, especially when there's no other splash player in later rounds. Now for the Atlanta Falcons, B+. Taking Bijan so high up still baffles me a little bit, but there's no denying he could turn out to be the best running back in the league. The rest of the draft class may not be amazing, but it's definitely solid, so that's why they get a good grade. Moving on to the Eagles, A-. They nailed their first pick with Jalen Carter, as he's already one of the top D linemen in the league. The rest of the players haven't broken out yet, but just in terms of potential, this is an amazing class. Let's just see how it develops. Up next are the Chicago Bears with a B. They honestly grabbed a handful of talent, and the potential this class has is sneaky good. However, the production isn't there yet, so I can't really grade them any better until we see them play some more. Moving on, the Titans get a B+. Peter Skoronski seems to be a viable option moving forward, and the rest of the class isn't looking that bad. Will Levis, although being a middle round pick, showed he could be the starter quarterback of the team moving forward, which is obviously a huge win for Tennessee. Now for the Detroit Lions, A+. This is one of the best draft classes I've ever seen. Jahmyr Gibbs has the potential to be top 5, and so is Sam Laporta. Not even mention how talented Brian Branch is, and well, the rest of the class was incredibly solid as well, no doubt about that. Up next, the Green Bay Packers get an A-. Lucas Van Ness still needs some time to develop, but outside of him, this class is looking incredible. Luke Musgrave could be an amazing tight end in the NFL, and players like Jaden Reed are key to developing a young quarterback like Jordan Love. On to the Pittsburgh Steelers, A+. Trading up for Broderick Jones is proving like the right idea, especially since they were still able to grab Defensive Rookie of the Year nominee Joey Porter come round 2. In addition to that, their late round picks were no joke, as they found some amazing players in Nick Herbig and Keanu Benton. For the Jets, I'm thinking C+. Despite Will McDonald's potential, I would dare to say this was a total waste of a first round pick. That hurts a team quite a lot, especially when the rest of the class isn't particularly special, even though there are some flashes of potential here and there. On to the Washington Commanders, C. Emmanuel Forbes was arguably the biggest name of this draft class, which honestly tells a lot. They didn't get any superstar, and so far it looks like they're betting in potential, and they better do, because production doesn't seem to be arriving very soon, to say the least. Moving on, the Patriots get a B+. Grabbing Christian Gonzalez in the first round was a huge win for them, but the rest of the draft was pretty mid. They got some wide receiver help, which didn't really have an impact, but hey, Gonzalez on his own carries this class. Now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, B-. They didn't get any top tier player out of this, but they did get some solid ones. Khalid Kansi, for example, could end up as one of the best D linemen in the NFL, so I think it's worth the risk. On to the Dolphins, B+. They had pretty much no draft picks, and yet they didn't do bad at all. The biggest name, of course, was Devon Achane, who on his own is easily an A+ pick, so that pretty much explains the great grade despite the other guys not having too big of an impact. Moving on, the LA Chargers get a C. Their biggest mistake in the draft was taking Quentin Johnston round 1. He was supposed to be the star of this class, but instead he's dragging them back. On the other hand, we do have guys like Tuli Tuipulotu who seem to be very good players, so it's not just darkness for the Chargers here. On to the Baltimore Ravens, B+. Getting Zay Flowers early was key for them, and I would dare to say one of the main reasons why Lamar won MVP. However, other than him, this draft class is truly nothing special. Yeah, there could be 1 or 2 solid starters, but I wouldn't say this is an amazing class. Moving on, the Vikings get a B. Jordan Addison is single-handedly carrying this, and yeah, they are getting a B despite landing arguably the best receiver in the draft. As simple as this, the rest of the class isn't great. I was thinking about giving them an A+, taking Ivan Pace into consideration. However, he's not technically part of the draft class since he wasn't drafted, so that explains the relatively low grade. On to the New York Giants, B-. I honestly quite like Deontay Banks, so I'm going to say that pick has the potential to be good. The later rounds were neither good nor bad for New York, even though they could eventually turn some talent into superstars. And yeah, I'm talking about you, Jalen Hyatt. Now for the Bills, B-. This is honestly a much better class than people give them credit for. I mean, for starters, Dalton Kincaid already seems as one of the most talented tight ends in the league, so of course he's gonna carry this class. Besides, the rest of Buffalo's rookies aren't bad, and actually some of them could even be reliable starters sooner rather than later. Up next, the Dallas Cowboys get a C+. This is not the type of draft you want to have, from reaching from Massey Smith in round 1 all the way to just wasting the later picks on players that didn't even display that much potential. Still, some of those guys could turn out to be good, so everything's not lost just yet. Moving on, the Jacksonville Jaguars get a C. This isn't a very impressive draft class, not even mention it being explosive at all. Anton Harrison has displayed some potential, but still isn't looking like the guy the Jaguars were expecting to get, and well, the rest of the class average at best. Now for Cincinnati, A-. They didn't get a top tier flashy kind of player here, but they got a lot of solid starters. Miles Murphy could end up being great, DJ Turner has the tools to be a top tier cornerback in the NFL, and guys like Jordan Battle could still be developed in a talented group like the one the Bengals have. On to the Saints, B-. This is a similar case to the Bengals, but in smaller scale. I actually quite like Brian Brzee and the potential he displayed last season, and despite the rest of the guys not stepping in just yet, I'm confident they'll be able to have more playing time and production next season. Now for Kansas City, B+. Rashee Rice on his own is pretty much carrying this class, mainly given the fact that he was not a first rounder, yet is now clearly the Chiefs' #1 wideout. Outside of him, this rookie class is actually pretty solid, and the talent they possess is undeniable. Moving on, the Rams get an A+. Despite not having a first round pick, they managed to cook one of the best classes out there. Puka Nacua was the best year 1 wideout while breaking multiple records, and guys like Byron Young and Kobe Turner were amazing for this team and could be top tier players in the near future. Moving forward, the Denver Broncos get a C. This was just one of those forgettable classes with all due respect. Yeah, not having a first round pick definitely hurt them, but still, they didn't really get any spark player whatsoever, other than probably Marvin Mims, I don't know. Up next, Cleveland Browns with a C+. Once again, not having a first rounder was of course very painful, but still they did manage to make something out of it. Dwan Jones is looking amazing so far, which of course is a great result for Cleveland. And now for the San Francisco 49ers, B-. They didn't get anyone with jaw-dropping potential, so we got what we expected. Jahir Brown was honestly quite impressive given his playing time, and the rest of the class didn't disappoint. I didn't like them picking Jake Moody, but hey, it is what it is. Not a terrible kicker, but 100% at his respectful reach to take him in the 3rd round, but I guess it do be like that sometimes. Anyways, that's all for today's video. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.